never quite goes exactly like you think it's going to go, but good morning. First of all, wow, look at all the people here. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hang on, all right. That's my way of saying good morning. All right, first of all, Melissa Doppler, always a pleasure. Chris Alexander, hello. Michael Hunty, hello. Good morning to you. Kevin Sexton, good morning to you, sir. Sonia, always great to see you. Also, thanks so much. The V loves you too, so it is completely mutual. Jay, what's happening, my man? Great to hear that your Flying V Hummingbird hums so loud. Paul Richard, hello. Sports soccer field, I love it. We're kicking it at the soccer field this morning. Eric Vaughn Films, love that. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Ron Martin, louder is better. That is so right on. Holy cow, it's just going to be like that. That is so hot. They're slippery little suckers. Louder is better. So right on the money. Well, good morning, everybody. Have we got a show for you? First of all, this is the third guitar pick I've dropped. Raise them up. I'm drinking some Pints this morning. And it is Saturday, and welcome to Doppler'S Gear Garage. If we haven't met, I'm Doug, and you're part of the family, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Holy cow. All right, first of all, next Saturday, I'm not going to be here because I'm going to be playing a show in Los Angeles, in San Pedro, California, to be specific, opening for the one and only Neely Brosh at Alvis Showroom in San Pedro. And then I'll be back the following week after that, and got a bunch of shows coming up, and I'll be announcing kind of exactly where those are. But short version is Nashville, July 21st, Muscle Shoals, July 22nd, and Montgomery, Alabama, July 23rd. And we may try and add some other stuff around those shows. Oh, awesome, Kevin! I can't wait to see you. Drop my pick in my coffee. Maybe that's where it went. Well, please be sure to say hello in San Pedro. I am besides myself, been practicing up a storm. All right, there is so much happening. I want to start things off on a slightly, well, actually, let's see if I can do this without completely losing it. What I do is kind of like an extended family. That is to say, you are part of my extended family. I don't see the people that I work with, that I teach, people that I work with, just in whatever way that I might know you. Like, I don't look at people like, oh, how can I extract dollars and cents out of these folks? I have a tendency to look at it from a much more relational point of view. So it's a little bit like family, and we lost the first family member last Saturday. So I want to pull up a graphic here, and it's a little much, but I want to dedicate this show to my dear friend Ruby Withrow. We lost Ruby last weekend, last Saturday, and she fought a valiant, hard-fought battle with cancer, and she was, and in my heart is, a consummate music lover, somebody I adored. And so Ruby, with you. So in any case, that was kind of like last week, and but at the same time, life and death, you know. I am in very much a teaching mode, so I'm going to kind of use that to segue into what we're going to be going over today. I have been hanging out with this incredible musician, Lindy Day, and you're going to be hearing probably a lot more about Lindy in Doug World as I'm out playing these new songs live. And have been spending more or less the past 2 years trying to find my sound on the instrument, which has been a lifetime's journey. Uh, Part of what I'm going to be doing is about kind of making music to engage and entertain people from the entertainment point of view. Another equally important and arguably more significant part of what I do is teach. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in the teaching space. In case you're not familiar with Lindy Day, you can find her on TikTok along with 60,000 other people that follow her, and on Instagram with 100,000 other people that follow her. But she's basically a theory genius. And I can't go into detail, but all I can say is Lindy and I have been hanging out remotely. We met at NAMM through my buddy Andrew Bonica. And she is a theory genius, but not only just a theory genius. If I were to go if I were to go CEG, she might go DFA, and I were going to go EGB, she'd go FAC. And if I went ACE, she'd say BDF. We are attuned on a theory level around music that is frightening, shocking, and totally amazing. So I've been trying to, thanks to a foot that Larry Mitchell put up my posterior about Doug, you've got to get teaching content out there on your socials. Working on it. So in the midst of that, kind of spending all this time playing, because I generally am either playing or working on one of these music things pretty much all day long, a big focus of what I'm going to be shifting my energies towards is when I'm not furthering my own playing through ridiculous amounts of practice, helping other players further their playing and sharing the insights that I have learned in the process of spending so much time with other players and helping them get closer to their goals in ways that reflect in some ways what I used to do when I taught people in person. And because of distance learning, it's been inhibited because I can't jam with people in real time over Zoom because of the latency. So the backing tracks part of this and figuring out how that gets blended in what we do on Saturday mornings is incredibly important because it gives us a vehicle to that to do that through. Having this community and being able to better serve this community, which is in many ways made up of people that I've either taught at guitar camps and or are private students that study with me, my being able to do a better job of that. As Melissa in a conversation with Lindy and myself pointed out yesterday, I'm a maximizer. Good isn't good enough for me. I've got to keep working good until it resembles what I think looks like great. And that process includes looking at myself and how good a job I think I may or may not be doing. So I'm going to start off with a great example musically because one of the things, I've got all these great students who, like myself, are kind of chasing something. Sometimes we know exactly what we're looking for, and sometimes we don't know what we're looking for, nor do we necessarily know how to get there. So as a music educator, part of my job is to actually read your roadmap before you actually pick a destination. And there's a song, one of the things I've been doing is listening to different types of music, trying to make sure that I'm staying with a broad enough perspective of stuff, and every so often I'll hear something like this particular song. Where it's either on or it's off. Hang on, I'm going to bring it down here. It's a song called Cry that I'd never heard before, but I was watching some Facebook reel because I'm seeing what other people are doing, and this song came up on about some Hollywood couple that had split up and haven't seen each other in years. But I will tune, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the drive pedal off. So give me just a moment. But the thing is that this morning, as I was kind of sitting thinking about all the things that I'm working on and wanting to put my hands to and help other people put their hands to, I was thinking about there we go. There we go. I was thinking about, as I was thinking about this song, I can speak English. As I was thinking about all of this stuff kind of, because sometimes there's a conversation that's happening at a subconscious and internal level that I'm speaking to myself. And one of the things is this song was playing because I just love it. It's totally haunting, totally depressing, but sometimes you just have to live in that place because it stirs something inside you that brings out even more creativity. And so I was listening to it, I was like, and then kind of thinking back, and this probably isn't the original key, but I thought, well, all right, I think it's 2 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord, 1 chord, 6 chord, sorry, 2. And I was thinking, okay, well, I was able to analyze that and pull that out. How much have I done to help my students be able to do what seems like a very obvious thing, which is like, how do you hear 2, 5, 1, 6, and pull that out of the mix? That means you have to have the ability 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 1, 2. There's the 2 chord, and if we were to go 1, 2, that'd be minor chord, okay. And then we would go in 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, that's a major chord. Back to the 1, and so 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 6. That's how I'm thinking of it, right? So I'm kind of scale singing 1, 2, da 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 da. I can do that a little bit. No, so here's our resolution chord. Now, if I would play all of these that I'd already figured out. I'm hearing that as my tonal center. Now it's interesting. It's this really haunting, slightly sad song. You immediately go, it's got to be in minor, but I'm totally hearing that. I'm not hearing that as the tonal centers. Why didn't hang out there? So that's my starting point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's my tonic. Home. 1, 2, 1, 7, 6, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 6. And that's how I'm thinking of this. But I've done kind of a crap job of showing my students how to do that. And in general, talking about that, because part of, if you will, my internal sense of responsibility is I'm supposed to help, and I'm going to use Lindy's phrase on this, help people build scaffolding around the building of music so they can kind of peer inside the windows of the floors that they haven't yet gotten a chance to climb to. It's something that I just absolutely am deeply passionate about. And more importantly, I'm not only deeply passionate about the scaffolding, I'm passionate about building it and making sure that people are climbing up the building instead of falling off the scaffolding. I haven't done quite as good a job, nearly as good a job as I would want to have. So this is something that's really, really, really near and dear to my heart. Listen to you, Mike Hunty. So first of all, Griffin, good morning to you. Chasing Tone always. Brett, good morning. Hello. David Ritchie, good morning to you. Nandini, hello. Welcome back. Jim Halbert, hello. I hope you're having a Gibson day. Rob Castaneda, great to see you, my friend. Speaking of people I know from the guitar camps, hello, Steve Hang. How are you doing? Good morning to you, my idol. You're too kind, but I will take that as Steve Karras. Hey, what's going on, my man? Steve Greenleaf, good morning to you. So this is one of the other things is that I'm going to give I'm going to leak some of the stuff that's happening around this whole Lindy conversation, because basically when you surround yourself, and I'm going to not allow myself to lose track today. In fact, I'm going to only talk about that a little bit, other than say I see comments coming in and I will reply to them once I follow this thread through. As you know, I've been thinking about this thing. One of the things that Lindy and I are talking about is musical influences. So we traditionally think, all right, my buddy Steve Greenleaf is the guy that really is responsible. My overlays aren't overlaying. Largely responsible for getting me into Return to Forever, which, for those of you who don't know, was the seminal fusion band with Stanley Clarke, Lenny White, Al Di Meola, and the ringleader of it all, Chick Corea. And if you go back a generation from that, you had Miles Davis, who in various versions of his band had Chick Corea, John McLaughlin, Wayne Shorter, and Joe Zawinul. So all of the key fusion bands, Return to Forever, Mahavishnu Orchestra, right, Weather Report, they all came from Miles. So this concept of musical influence is one that's very near and dear to my heart. Daniel King, what's going on? Good morning to you. Bent Tom, hello. So this concept of musical influence does not just extend itself to people that you listen to their records. Steve Greenleaf was one of my biggest musical influences, and although he plays bass, I wasn't following him as an artist, but as a musical influence, he was huge. And in turn, people that musically influence you, like Lindy is having this crazy effect. We are, I almost said the descriptive name, but we are passionate about the same things. And because of that, there are ways that we are influencing each other in a very intense and intent way in a very short period of time. And that concept of influence and musical influences, the people that you surround yourself and the ways that they pour into your brain and make you want to play the instrument and think about the instrument, arguably is important in a moment of time than the people that you've spent listening to over decades, like the Jeff Becks. Because if you want to kind of, bend and tune. It takes a lifetime for that stuff to start to permeate your playing if we're talking about somebody who is as musically deep as Jeff Beck was. But in many ways, we're in this space of an immediate moment. So if I were to say, all right, well, we got C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F, C, E, G, how might we outwork that? So there is taking notes of C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And if we were to organize that into those triad note groups, as in C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F, C, E, G, and take that C, E, G and play it C, G, E, and kind of basically voice this chord instead of, take my word for it, if I went up the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, C, E, and G are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that 1, 3, 5, that's still the 5, which means that guy, when I play the E up an octave, I guess if that's the 1 and the 5, that's still the 3. 1, 5, 3, 1, 5, flat 3 for minor, 1, flat 5, flat 3 for diminished. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. So if I were to take, I can do this, a key of, 2 chord is going to be a D minor, 5 chord is going to be a G major, 1 is going to be a C major, the 6 is going to be A minor. So although I've never played that song in the key of C, and I'd never played it before I picked up the guitar after figuring it out by ear, now I'm able to take that knowledge and grab a hold of it. The point being is that from this movement of 2, 5, 1, 6, and then what we begin to do is build upon that. So, hey, Jose, what's happening, my friend? Great to see you. And in all honesty, I've done a crap job of showing my students how to do that, really. And I'm not like beating myself up just to be, what do they call it, flatulate, right? That's not it. It's just kind of like, back in the day, if I would show you the modes, the next week I would show you the triads. And I might do something like, all right, now we're going to use these triads to build a chord progression. And I'd say, now what you're going to do is we're in the key of G major. And what I would do was show value to knowing why the triads are helpful creating musical scaffolding that you can use to build chord progressions. In turn, have something to hang your scales on top of to create melodies, and show you why certain melody notes work well because they're aligned around the chords. What's going on, Mr. Lucchese? I hope you had a great Saturday. Speaking of Saturday, again, I'm not going to be here next week because I'm going to be opening for Neely Brosh and in the meantime practicing. There we go. You showed me twice because I missed it the first time. I love that. So this concept of like, what is the stuff that in a sense that I know all guitar players struggle with and or struggle to teach their students. It's a very, it's a potent and pertinent subject. John, I look forward to seeing you at the Neely Show. Thank you so much for supporting. I really look forward to getting a chance to say hi in person again. And so the thing is that this conversation that basically this musical influence conversation, ideally, if I do something like, okay, if I take this chord progression that I initially played it in the key of A, so that is to say, if I take the key of A major, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, and the chord progression starts off the 2, it just means it's starting off the second note. There's my 1 up an octave. So basically, it went the 2 chord. I'm going to go up the octave. There's 1, 7, 6, 5. E, 5, 6, 7, 1, A, 1, 7, 6, F sharp minor. So basically what you've got is the 2, B minor or a B minor 7, the 5. Oh, come on. I know it's an E. Sorry, I'm working in 2 keys simultaneously in my brain, and neither of which is quite saying itself as I want it to. The key of A, we're in the key of A major, so our 1 chord, A. So the chord progression starts off with the 2, which is going to be a B minor. Walks down to the 5, which is going to be an E major. Walks back up to the 1, which is an A major, in this case an A sus2. And then down to the 6, which I'm playing an F sharp minor 11. So if I were to play this the bare bones version just using the triads, it would be a little bit something like this. Start off with a B minor, E major, A major, F sharp minor. And if sometimes what guitar players, what we do is we think, I've got to put all the delays and the reverbs, all the soup and all the nuts to set the table. No, the simplicity of it. So let's see if I can show a couple of different levels of how I would approach adding decoration to this. Steve, absolutely. Finding new musical influences and ways to explore the suggestions is a lifelong journey. That's what's so great about new music, right? And this song, it was just like, it was just some background music that they had going over this kind of tearjerker. They were a Hollywood A-list couple and now they haven't spoken for years. And this tragic song that's just like, it's so depressing, but at the same time, the movement, I was like, oh, literally, by the time the 3rd chord came around, it's like, you're hoping the next chord after that is going to be as groovy, such you're like, oh, this song just kind of tells a story that speaks to me on some deep level. So for me as a musician, what I want to do is I want to unwrap that. I want to look at the paper and the bow and the box, the gift, that is to say, that actual song. What an interesting analogy. That's only part of it. There's all this other stuff around there. So again, as we're thinking about this guy and we're thinking about our 2 chord, make sure I'm in the key of A. 5 chord, 1 chord, 6. So that's playing it as simply as I can. Let's see. So already I'm starting to add a little bit of musical intelligence. So I started off with my 2 chord. And I went to that E major in first inversion. To that A major right there. To that F sharp minor. What's neat about that, Lindy and I are spending a ridiculous amount of time talking about chords and inversions and how to show people why these things matter so you can dig deeper and pull your creativity out, right? I think if there was one thing that all guitar players, besides playing faster and having more gear, and playing faster and having more gear, and having more control and playing faster and having more gear, want to be able to do is harness their inner creativity. And honestly, there's not a lot taught around these sorts of things. Awesome. Look at you guys analyzing. Come on, guys. I love this. Come on. There we go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, the other thing is that this is one of the other things. Mike, I'm going to say this not as a critique, but as a point of comment. So interestingly enough, what John did was he used a combination of upper and lowercase Roman numerals. Neither is wrong, because when you use those numbers as Roman numerals, I know what you're saying. Technically, when we talk about that 2 chord, we would like to use a lowercase Roman numeral 2, preferably with a little minus sign to the right of it. Same thing with the 6 chord, and for the 1 and the 5, uppercase Roman numeral. So, but again, it's subtle things about the language. One of the things that Lindy and I are being very conscious of as we're working to, like, look, if you said, hey, in uppercase Roman numerals, that's what's going on, I know exactly what you mean, because I know exactly what you mean. So yes, and so adding on to that, why the minus? Great question, Steve. So the minus indicates, there we go, thank you very, oh look, we are a quick learner. So the minus in Satriani'ville, so if I move to my ever famous, beloved, as Joe would refer to it, G to Z scale, the major chord, it traditionally would be written with an uppercase M if you were to write G major, and then you were to write G big M, and if you were to write G minor, and just reduce that to the M, it would be a lowercase m. And in this particular case, when you have just a G, it implies it's a G major chord. And if you just use the symbol we use would be minor. Now here's an interesting subset. We're going to delve a little bit left, but we're going to do this for a reason. When Joe, and I'm finding after years of being very cautious about how I used Joe's name around what I do, I'm going to be a little bit looser with it, not because I'm like, oh, well, I studied with Joe, but more because, oh, I studied with Joe. So when we got to the 7 chord, if you were to take a look at the 1 chord and the 2 chord and play them over a common root, 1, 3, 5, that is to say if I took the G major scale, the first, third, and fifth notes are G, B, and D. And if I were to take that 3 and lower it a half step, that's a flat 3. Takes that B and turns it into a B flat. And if I were to keep that flat 3 and lower the 5, that D to a D flat, that would be 1 flat 3 flat 5 as opposed to 1 3 5, 1 flat 3 5, 1 flat 3 flat 5, major, minor, and diminished respectively in an order that goes major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, major. So when Joe used to present the triads like that, he would always use a circle with a slash through it when you got to the 7, even at the triadic level. Now, why does this matter? This matters a lot. Because if I were to take that chord and add the flat 7 from Locrian, it would be the flat 7 from Locrian. That is to say, if I just took the first, third, fifth, and 7th notes from the 7th mode, it'd give you a minor 7 flat 5 chord. The circle without the slash through it means a truly diminished 7 chord, which has a doubly flatted 7, which enharmonically is the same. If I took the 7th note of the major scale and I flatted it and I doubly flatted it, it's the same enharmonically as the 6. That is not diatonic with the, with the Locrian mode. The Locrian mode has a flat 7 versus a doubly flatted 7. So to prevent confusion, Joe just always used the circle with a slash through it. Even though you technically hadn't gotten to the place where you were adding the 7 yet, he was saying, hey, when we start shoveling a 7 on top of this and start adding these upper partials, just keep in mind that it's a 1 flat 3 5 here, 1 flat 3 flat 5 here, but when we start adding the flat 7, or we start adding these other partials, it's going to be a 1 flat 3 flat 5 flat 7. It's just kind of a little preventative medicine from confusing guitar players. I didn't explain that quite as clearly as I love to. But the other part of this is I asked Joe once, why do you call the modes Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, and Locrian by those names, but major and minor by those names instead of Ionian and Aeolian? And Joe's answer was, it's less confusing for guitar players. Like the time I'm spending with Lindy, one of the great things about having studied with Joe, my background came from classical music. At 9 years old, little Dougie was in the San Francisco Boys Chorus. And they had me going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I need to lower the 7 a half step, that's a minor seventh. And so that concept of basically pitch axis is built into classical ear training. It's something that I've done literally since I was 9 years old. So it just, when Joe's way of looking at music, same with Rusty Cooley, same with Lindy's, it's tethered to a particular infusion of classical ear training mixed in with the modes. The point being is by using the circle with a slash through it for the 7 and using the little minus sign for the 2, 3, and 6, it just allows you to immediately look at the Roman numeral, because you would use a Roman numeral for the 2, 3, 6, and 7 with minus sign, minus sign, minus sign, minus sign through a circle, respectively, compared to the uppercase Roman numerals, which are designated just for the major type modes that have a major triad, as in major, Lydian, and Mixolydian. So the obvious question for some of the theory geeks out there would be, why would he have mixed and matched that? And the reason being is it just allows you to see things more simply. Okay, let me just take a look at the questions here real quick, because I think I got through that point. I'm going to come back to the progression in just a minute. Sonia, all right, hello. And it looked like you're having a great time at the guitar camp. And what's happening is I click my overlays. You can see a little bit of visual noise right about, hold on, there. So for whatever reason, this particular camera is overlaying over the overlay. So in any case, I'm going to read it, and it probably would be font-wise too small. At last week's guitar camp, once I again learned that a good portion of guitarists are happy to noodle on the blues scheme, and indeed not that interested in being creative beyond that. What a pity. You know, so this is an interesting point. I'm going to rabbit trail down that, and I'm going to come back, John. I'm going to come back to your question in just a moment. Hold on a second. No, let me answer John's question, because in Sonia, we're gonna hang out here for a minute. John's question was G major would be 1. Sorry, trying to be more precise, or 0 with a slash through it. Half diminished is what people call half diminished, is a minor 7 flat 5. Fully diminished is doubly flat 7. Exactly. So here's the deal. And Brett, I'm not even going to read yours yet. I'm going to come back to it. So if we took the notes of the C major scale, C, hold a D, hold a E, half to F, hold a G, hold a A, hold a B, half to C. We can also think of that as the first note of the C major scale. So that's 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1. If I built a chord off of the 1, I'm thinking of it as a 1 chord. And it just happens to be, take my word for it, C, E, G. If I took every other note of this scale and use those to build chords, these are the chords that I would be building, which would give me C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and C major. And if I compared those, that's 1, 5, 3, 1, 5, flat 3, 1, flat 5, flat 3, major, minor, and diminished. I would just write that as C on the page. Boom. I would write that as D minus sign, E minus sign, F, G, A minus sign, B minus sign through a circle, C. And in turn, I could also, for the sake of today's lesson, 2. Yeah, I got this right. 2, 5, 1, 6. So that's 2 with a lowercase Roman numerals with a little minus sign, 5 uppercase Roman numeral, 1 uppercase Roman numeral, 6 lowercase with a minus sign next to it. And so that was the thing about doing it like that, is it's shorthand for, like, I don't know, let's do it in the key of A major. There's B minor, E, my 5, A, the 1, F sharp, the 6. We want to do it in the key of C, sure. D minor, 2, the minor sign, G, the 5, uppercase Roman numeral, C, the uppercase Roman numeral, A minor, A with a minus sign, and or lowercase Roman numeral 6 with a minus sign. And the neat thing about this is kind of once you know, okay, so Sonia, I'm now going to roll that into your question. I think guitar players live in a couple of different places. One of the places that they live is, and again, you're going to hear a lot about Lindy, that as we're thinking about the habits of musicians, some people just want to come home from their day at work, have a glass of wine, sit down with the guitar, and play along with Freebird. I totally get it. But one Saturday morning, those same guitar players wake up and kind of go, you know, every Friday night I come home and I play Freebird, and it's pretty cool, but I'm getting musically bored and I don't know how to get unstuck. It happens. It's an inevitability, but part of that is it's confronting. When we're confronted with our inadequacies, most people have a tendency to go, you know, I have 2 glasses of wine and I'll play Freebird again. And I don't mean that they go to substances. I mean, they have a tendency to kind of go, let me just not feel that feeling and let me just kind of go back with the comfortable, which I totally get. I thrive in the I don't know how to play it or I can't play it yet zone, and I'm going to do it until I get it. Because I know that not only is there the thing that's immediately in front of me that I can't do, of which there's a bunch, which is why I am furiously practicing. But the other thing is I also understand that there's the things that are on the other side of that if I don't break that barrier, I'm not going to even be able to see that next thing, and I'm going to be like, I'm just going to keep doing it until I do it. But if I don't talk about that, you don't necessarily know that I do that. And if we don't actually have a conversation and go, you know, hey, do we really think that, you know, and I, you know, I blew the lick from Freebird. How about that? There we go. That ultimately, after 25 years of coming home and having a glass of wine and playing Freebird, everybody's going to get bored and they're going to go, there must be something more. So the real trick as a music educator and a lover of music is to help people along in that journey. And that's one of the things I have not done the kind of job that I think is fitting of the stuff that I've learned and my ability to share that. I think I would not rate myself nearly as highly as I should and could and hopefully will. So in unpacking all of that, I think, and I do agree with you that kind of like there are a lot of players that are kind of like, I just want to do this. But you also, part of the thing is knowing that there's going to be that Saturday morning that I spoke about. You do things to pique their interest, and you do that in the framework of kind of going, I'm pilfering my own material that you haven't seen yet, that you don't necessarily know it's on my own material, but we're going to go there because y'all my people. And what's interesting, just so you know, I'm beginning to draw content maps around what I do where, which is a very interesting thing. But this show is my people, so like this is where the lines get very blurred. So for somebody like that, quote unquote, a great place to start is like, well, what makes the minor pentatonic minor? Silence in the room except for the theory geeks. So, oh my word, Lindy's texting me. That's hilarious. Oh, so we're talking about you. Hold on a second. So the whole point is this, what she's texting me back. That's funny. Talk to you later. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's hilarious. You actually may be about to meet Lindy. So, Brian Bartley, what's going on, my man? Pilfer on, brother. So, that's hilarious. So, this is the thing, this whole concept of what makes a minor pentatonic minor. It's a very, very interesting thing because once you begin to, Brad, what's going on, my friend? Great to see you. Good morning to you. And Brad's actually one of the people that, there are certain students. And by the way, Brian coordinated this gig on July 23rd that's going to happen in Montgomery, Alabama. So thank you so much for that. There's also going to be a clinic happening around that. Really, 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 really appreciate it. All right. I have a feeling in a moment we're going to hear from Miss Lindy Day just hopping in on the chat. And so I'm just announcing that, yes, and Melissa is part of the conversation with Linda. We keep things legit around here. So this whole concept of what makes the minor pentatonic minor, to your question, Sonia, one of the things you can do is pique people's interest. So you're like, all right, well, and this is, I haven't worked this out all the way, but Lindy and I were talking about this yesterday. In the framework of what makes a minor pentatonic minor, I have a tendency to live in G minor pentatonic because, like I like to do with the modes, it starts at the bottom neck, goes up to the top of the neck in an octave. So you think about pattern number one. Let's get rid of the fancy noise here. Let's get rid of you. Pattern number one of the minor pentatonic. Well, when I was shown that, it was a bunch of chicken scratch on a piece of paper. And Brent, what's going on, my man? I can't hopefully wait to see you in Nashville on July 20. Oh my word, I've lost my mind. On the July Nashville date. Holy cow. That's because I'm thinking minor pentatonic. All right, let me focus here. So the deal is that most of us are shown the A minor pentatonic. If we're lucky, they explain that this A and this A are actually the same note, which is why if you played here, that's the A minor pentatonic. And then by chance you moved it around, that wherever you move it to, that takes on the G minor pentatonic or the C minor pentatonic. So they never explain that, hey, by the way, in the middle of this minor pentatonic scale is a minor triad or a minor chord or a minor chord. And that if you look at the notes of this A minor pentatonic scale, there's a 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. And Sonia, I'm giving the long answer of this, but when you kind of begin to go, well, hey, if you don't know that the A minor pentatonic is based around really a bunch of the notes of the minor chord, and more importantly, I'm going to add a little bit of reverb here now. Such that when you're playing that A minor chord, why certain notes sound good to hang on and others aren't as good to hang on, that around your quote-unquote tonic chord, that A minor, it's because this scale and this chord intersect right here, here, and here. And that is a 1, flat 3, and 5, which is what makes up a minor chord. But not only that, once you kind of get there, once you begin to think of the minor pentatonic as having this minor triad branded inside it, Eric Martin Bureau, Lessons with Lindy, welcome to the live stream. Hey, everybody, do me a favor. Give Lindy a big hello and a big shout out in the chat. Lindy is my favorite new rock star. Holy cow. All right, so the deal is, once you begin to think of this A minor pentatonic as basically an A minor chord surrounded with a couple of other notes, you got to know what the other notes are. If you don't know what the other notes are, you don't quite know how to think about it. So the deal is, here's our A, C, D, E, G, and A. All right, now we know what to describe them as, note-wise. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. Now we know what to describe them as numerically. So we can take that 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1 and move it down to here. 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. And I can now go, that's G, B flat, C, D, F, G. And somewhere, Sonia, to answer your question in the room, somebody went, how did he know it was a B flat and not an A sharp? And you say, hey, by the way, One of the great things about knowing a little bit of what's going on underneath the hood is the largest distance between any two adjacent notes of the major scale is a whole step. The smallest distance is a half step. So if you got two notes that are a step and a half apart, they're either a step and a half apart, which means there's some note in between, both in terms of, I don't know, G, A, B flat, as well as numerically 1, 2, third note of the major scale is there, that's a flat 3. So it's either a step and a half or a half and a step, as I like to say. Somebody just went, oh, that's kind of crafty. I think that's very clever, by the way. And I can say that because I can say that. So the deal is a step and a half and a step means that these two notes have to have a note name and a number in between them. So that's why this is G and B flat, as in G, hold a A, hold a B. I'm taking that note and lowering it a half step because you can't go G, A, and stretch that a step and a half. It breaks the rules of the major scale. All right, great. So we got G, B flat, C, D, F, and G. So since we know this is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, that's our 1, flat 3, 5, which means our G, B flat, and D are the 1 flat and 3 and 5. What happens as soon as you begin to think, as you begin to think of those notes of how they begin to function, whether I overlay what I'm laying, there's the 2, or just playing. So I begin to think about, wait a second, the G minor pentatonic, that 1 flat 3. If I've got so I move to G Dorian, but the minor pentatonic is still 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1. So understanding that the Dorian mode, which goes 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1, because we're skipping out the 2 when we go 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and we go between the 5 and the flat 7, we're skipping the 6. You could play the minor pentatonic over the Dorian, Phrygian, and the minor, because the 2, or flat 2, or the 6 or the flat 6, it's not in the minor pentatonic, which is why you can use it there. It's kind of like the one-size-fits-all scale. I'm going to talk about Mixolydian in this moment. But the point being is, once you begin to think of this guy as having that G, B flat, and D, you begin to kind of go, okay, where's my G, B flat, and D at different places that you wouldn't play them with the minor pentatonic scale. So there's our G. And guess what starts to happen? You start to place those notes. And then you start to backfill the other notes of the pentatonic around it, because you begin to hear how they fit around. And the 2. And the 6. 5, flat 3, 1. Which means as you begin to play stuff, you actually flip and know what you're doing. 5, 1, flat 3, 1, 5, 4, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 3, 1, flat 7, 5 bending the 4, flat 3, 1, and then you can get. So when I'm one of the things that I'm doing on becoming Doug and evolving the sound of what I do is using my fingers as much as I can, simply because when I play with the pick, I sound a lot more like the other guitar players that I'm trying to sound a bit less like. But one of the things that happened, because of the way I'm kind of beginning, is this morning as I was kind of picking up the guitar, these ideas, not muscle memory, but the ideas of inspiration. Lindy, write this down, please. We have this list of stuff that goes on. The fruit of inspiration is sweet. It is awesome. And I didn't say, Lindy, write it down. She's on my secretary. We have this thing where she was in front of the computer yesterday while Melissa and Lindy and I were on the phone. It's like, Lindy, can you write this down? So just so you know. But the thing is, the fruit of inspiration, it's the best. Regurgitating Freebird is great on a Friday night with that glass of wine. I totally get it. But the fruit of inspiration, there's nothing better because it's fresh. Unbeatable. That's why I live in that zone. And when people who hang out with me, the musical influence hopefully I get to be, is helping people go, I want that. It's like when Harry met Sally, I'll have what she's having, right? Just like, hey, when people see you having a great time making music, freely expressing the energy of music because they understand actually how it works, it's the best kind of musical influence because it gets other people hungry for that. Like, I want and once people understand, you can make the analogy of the sweet taste of fruit. Everybody knows you got to till the soil, you got to plant that little sapling, and there's seasons involved in all of this. But, eventually the season of playing Freebird every Friday night with a glass of wine to unwind, that season gets a little old. Lindy and I talk incessantly about the paradigm of time. Lindy, I can't help but some of the stuff we're talking about is just coming out. Brent, I'm sorry that you're going to be out of town. That really bums me out because my life is better when I hang out with you. But this concept of looking back, looking where you are, thank you, Lindy, you are the bestest. And then looking forward, it's just like the fruit of inspiration. I mean, so the amazing thing is Lindy and I are kind of like, I used to teach these two twins, and I'm sorry, I'm besides myself because this is something that musically happens very rarely. Very rarely. So these two twins would come and take one play guitar and one play bass, and they would kind of like finish each other's sentences. And I was just like, I was like, gosh, I wish I had that. So the fruit of inspiration spreadsheet is open. So we're taking these concepts because the fruit of inspiration, Sonia, to answer your question, when people see that, it's what people love about Joe Satriani. He is playing the same pentatonic licks that your quote-unquote dudes that you see at this whatever, the guitar show, they're wheelie, but they would love, my guess would be, if you ask them in a non-confrontational way, would you rather play the same pentatonic licks and not have to work that hard at it to do it, which is totally legit. We authorize that. We love it. We know it's important. We all do it. Or would you rather be inspired like Joe Satriani? Because you can add a little bit of leverage. They'd be like, nah, it's okay. I want to play the same licks for 20 years, and I'm good with that. And as guitar players, we're a little bit of both because being confronted by our inadequacies is a very uncomfortable place to live. But I use those inadequacies in my own playing to kind of go, I hate that guy. I work so hard to not be the stanky version of myself that once you finally begin to go, that muscle is starting to get a little bit bigger, then you get inspired. The other thing is that this is with this whole concept. What's going on, James? Brent, there will be more times. Shelter, a car, any gear. Brent, you are just the best. I'm not going to follow the rabbit trail that I could with that comment, but thank you. Musical influences is a very important subject that Lindy and I are going to be addressing. And the concept is as a musical influence, when somebody sees you able to describe, here's the thing with the pentatonic, once you can begin to think of it as a 1 flat 3 4 5 flat 7 or a G B flat C D F G, and that G B flat and D are the 1 flat 3 and 5 of that chord. Got to begin to go. One of the great things about all of this is once you kind of understand what's under the hood, instead of just playing, I could have played this chord progression, G minor, F major, and then C major, and I'm trying not to make it sound stupid. Like I wouldn't want to go. I could tell you that same rhythm. I immediately want to go to it. But instead I'm like, hey, once we begin to know what's going on here, So instead of playing just that G minor, there's a 1 flat 3 and 5. There's the 2. There's the 1. Sorry, I gotta. And that C, I could play it in first inversion instead of just playing that C. And as I'm adding the decoration, I get to add the notes from the G. That's my 2 chord, 1 chord, 5 chords, so from the G Dorian scale, which are G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, and G. Which means once you actually know that's G, A, B flat, C, D, E, F, and G, you know it's G, A, B flat, C, D, F, and G. And I know that the E is my 6th. So I can go to that. I don't know. This one's fun. So I do know where it is up here. And so I'm looking for that E to the F. And I can take what was down here. Ah, come on, D. I'm going D, E, F. And again, you actually have to think the right thing. And you also know how to unthink the wrong thing, right? I'm not thinking E, F sharp, G, which is what I was trying to play. I need to be thinking D, E, F. And so anywhere I can go D, E, and F, which is, I can play that. So all of a sudden, I'm totally free. And it's just so incredible. Oh, not just on adjacent notes, but, and once you begin to get comfortable with that, you get much looser. And so what begins to happen is the outpouring of this. So one of the things I do with this, getting back to this, playing with the fingers is that I have a tendency to play just single notes, kind of, if you will, with some kind of pedally. Or kind of dyadically. But when you kind of begin to go, and this is what happened this morning, is when the idea came into my head, well, what if I did... I started doing pedal tone and dyads with the pentatonic, right? I hit the 6 there. I was like, oh, because I know in, 2 months, that's going to be a whole thing that I'm going to do that people will go, I haven't heard anybody play that thing like that. And it came because the seed of like, all right, what is the G, B flat, C, D, F, G, and I'm taking the pentatonic. Now, I do think of it as shapes, and I do think of it as scale degree numbers. So there's my 5 and my 1, my flat 7 and my flat 3, and my 1 and my 4. But I am also just kind of still able to kind of think about what's happening note-wise, and what that enables me to do is stripe the neck and unlock myself from playing the stuff over and over. So getting back to the question, Sonia, and like I said, I was going to go deep on this because there was lots of fruit on the vine on that one. It gives you the ability to then go kind of, if it were up to me, and I had a choice of playing Freebird every Friday night with a glass of wine, and 3 years later I'm still playing Freebird on a Friday night, or beginning to tap into, playing with the creativity that Joe Satriani does. You can do it in a way that doesn't make people feel bad, and you can do it in a way that gives them hunger for the fruit, which is why they started playing in the first place. I can assure you, I can guarantee you, and this is one of the things that, again, Lydia and I are thinking about, is how do people end up where they end up? And Melissa, kind of, and I were talking about this as well. It's like, you see the end behavior, but it's not telling you the path unless you look at the end behavior and go, what's the path? I can assure you the Friday night Freebird glass of wine player didn't start off going like, I can't wait till I can come home after a week of work and just sit down and play the same licks 2 years in a row. Same licks over and over every Friday night. They didn't start there. They, through a series of reasons, letdown, frustration, time, family, whatever. They're looking for the release. And if they're getting it there, there's value in that. But what happens when you play the same licks over and over? Eventually you kind of go, man, is that all I got? And I think the way you ease people into that is like if you're tired of the if that's all I got, want to help you out of that out of there. Anything I can do, we're going to do that. All right, let me just kind of read a couple of thingies here. All right. Okay, so here's the thing with the Vine Factory. There's another way to get there. Oh, and the funny thing is, I can. I don't know about you, that's not fast. The difference between, and I hear you, like, what happens is sometimes the technique can get in people's way. And I actually, it's a really legitimate point. And yes, Lindy, the experimentation, when you regurgitate the same licks over and over, there's nothing experimental about that. But people don't know how, and this is kind of, Lindy, you missed me kind of critiquing myself. If you don't hold yourself accountable as a teacher for actually helping people cross that, the waters, I'm just as guilty as the person that's not crossing it and doesn't know how. If I know how to get somebody on the other side, I don't show them, shame on me. So the whole thing about the always with you, always with me thing is that, and sorry, Sonia, the idea is if you can't point the lens back at yourself and go, true or false, are you doing the same thing? I'm very conscious of, I actually think it was a comment Steve made on one of the videos from Steve Karras, that was shot while I was in Texas. And his comment was, I really love the vibrato and the bends. And that was a direct result of me looking at myself and going, when I'm playing the melodies, am I doing... Somebody has found me in Messenger. All right, when I'm doing that, hang on a second. I need to do something about this. This is gonna not stop. Hang on a second. Okay, let's get rid of this. Okay, good. I think we're good. When I'm playing the melodies in the midst of all of this stuff, I need to be really mindful of going as deep as I can on every single note, Da, da, two. So a lot of people play this song. Oh, I can't even play it like, but I'm going to try. All right. They play the chords wrong. Versus. And I know he's using the pick. Point being is that one is if you play it like an amateur, it's going to sound amateurish. So I found myself in one of my lessons last week. One of my students was kind of going. I was like, okay, hang on a second. Let me try going. And it took him a couple of tries, but after a minute, he was like, because I just said, hey, why don't you play it like you mean it? And we know each other. I'm going to offer some critiques. You okay with that? Absolutely. I was like, all right, instead of going. And as soon as I showed them to kind of how to breathe some life into the notes, they were like off and running. Most people just need a little bit of a little help off the starting line. But the idea of the kind of the fast solo-y stuff being off-putting to some folks, I totally get. It's one of the reasons I love Skinner. The thing about being able to look back at yourself, and I can only speak first person, is that when you're thinking about melodies, let's see. First person, here we go. So I can go. Or I can go. Is where knowing the notes that those of the flippin' pentatonic actually are a big help because you actually play the flippin' right notes. And one of the leverages with people is like, hey, would you rather keep playing the wrong notes when you make mistakes or actually know how to fix them? There are ways to get people over their aversion to learning because most people don't want to learn because it's painful. But if you show them that the fruit of inspiration is actually way more sweet than the pain of frustration, they want the sweet. Most people, like, no, give me sweet. I don't want painful. And letting people know that staying where they are sometimes isn't actually going to be how they're going to get to the next place. And giving them the hand up out of the place where they're kind of stuck. People know they're stuck. You don't have to shame them into it. And it's one of, again, the conversations that Lindy and I are having. It's like, how do you help people out of a painful place? And again, my analogy of, I've been coming home and playing Freebird every Friday night, having a glass of wine. I need a release. I want the guitar to be that. There's nothing wrong with that experience until 20 years later, you're playing the same licks from Freebird and don't know how to get out of that. It is a reality. It's where most of us live, and it's what I desperately, I'm rehearsing, imagining my band's doing that, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I know that the drummer that I'm about to start playing with live, if I do that too many times, I'm going to train them because of the way they play and listen to what I do. They're going to go da-da-da-da-da-da-da because they're going to hear me do it so much, they're going to go like, oh, it's time to do the da-da-da-da-da-da thing. And I don't want that. I'm like, they're going to pick up on my repetitiveness. And I'm like, I need to add some more bits and pieces when I'm playing with that type of feel. Getting back to this concept of, what's funny is that song's actually playing on a guitar that's tuned to C sharp. So playing it on this guitar is just, it messes with the mind. So if I think of it, I'm doing my best, although I could have played that better, but I'm doing my best to make sure that when I actually get to somewhere in the midst of the solo, I've gone enough that they're kind of like, oh, I get my veggies and my protein, but I also get a little dessert on the end because I think everybody when it comes to actually being able to, there are times that we all want to pull out the Ferrari. And there are times that we just, we need to pull out, kind of, my main car, my only car is a minivan. The melody is the minivan. It gets everybody to the destination. There are times you want to pull out the Ferrari and go, see ya. And go places that only you as the player can go, that then you're turning the audience into the audience. They're like, wow. And there are times with the audience, you actually want the audience to go, wow. And as a player, what I'm trying to do is most everything that I play in a solo, I'm being very conscious that, and I'm trying to do this thing, opening the books here. I'm trying to do this thing that I'm not thinking about what I'm playing. And I see there's some comments here, but I'm just going to do a little. I'm actually trying not to think about what I'm playing, so I'm not thinking about what I'm playing, I'm just playing. That instinct is trained by all the time that I spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 1, flat 2, flat 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, sharp 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, such that when I need to play and let my ear be the thing that's navigating, the air traffic, my hands are where they need to be. They know enough about what my ear is hearing to be able to interpret that and make that happen. I'm not thinking, I'm now going to play the C sharp. I'm not thinking like that, but I'm not thinking like that because I've already thought like that. It means when it's time to kind of go, I want the fruit of that. I want to also be able to do one of the most important things and again, this is the Lindy thing. What's going on, Brian? Which is, we talk about past, present, and future. We're going to be talking about time a lot. And there is a moment when you're in a venue and you're playing for somebody, one of the rare opportunities you've got their undivided attention, which means that you have that moment to take them wherever you want to take them, which means in that performer moment versus the teacher moment. I'm going to hey, hop in, the passenger seat of the Ferrari. Let's go. When I want to go there. Getting back to the comment, Steve, when I was in Texas, there was a moment where I cognitively went, I need to play these melodies. Flat 7, 4, flat 7, 6. Natural 7. So there are times where I actually, my brain's going, every time I play it, I can't help but think that's my flat 7 going to the 6. I can't think that I'm bending from the flat 7 and releasing it down to the natural 7 because that's just what I'm doing. But because I have mental language, I've created Lindy, scaffolding. I actually kind of know when I'm looking in the scaffolding of the flat 7th floor, looking into the octave floor, looking into the natural 7th floor. I actually flip and know which floor I'm on. I don't know. It's kind of like having somebody work on your car that doesn't know what they're flipping doing. Like why? Now, backing up a step as a music educator, my feelings about it can be a help in getting you to where you need to get to, but I don't always need to show my feelings about how I feel like something. I want to know how you're feeling. If you're feeling like, hey, I love Freebird, I love doing it on Friday night, but yeah, I'd love to learn how to get more creative. That's how you find out. People will tell you what the indoor is, and that's one of the great things about being musician Steve, intention. So I actually have to extend a big thank you, Steve, because you affirmed something that was very, very, very important to me. More importantly, I was trying to say something through the music that I really wanted to make sure people heard. And you heard it, it resonated with you, and you were kind enough to actually let me drop something down in the comments. I'm like, thank you, because it affirmed what I was trying to do. The only way that you know if you hit you don't kind of pull the bow and then let the arrow go and then not look at the target and kind of go, all right, cool, I shot the arrow. I don't know. I didn't look back at it versus kind of like, did I actually hit the target? No, love you, brother. That meant so much. You cannot possibly know how much that was one of the most important affirming moments of this moment of this journey that I'm on, because I'm pretty serious about what I'm doing. My goals are really high. So when I set out to do something that's really important to me and I get instantaneous feedback from somebody, that's really, really important, going, you're on the right path. And getting back to Sonia's point, I was like, look, I have to be able to, with the melodies, play them in such a way that it's really heartfelt intentionality to wrap as much as I can around every single note, to make it such that when somebody hears it, they kind of go, wow. And, if I were to be honest, hey, what's going on, Eric? All right, good. So in any case, I am done pontificating. I've said all that I need to say about that, I think. And Sonia, what a great point, though. I really, really, really appreciate that, because here's the thing, is many of the people that I interact with are either students or teachers or some combination thereof, and we all get stuck. And we all want the fruit. We just have to kind of figure out how you let people know, what, no matter how long you've been stuck, wherever it is you've been stuck, and or just doing that thing that you love to do, there is more. How bad do you want it? Are you willing to roll up your sleeve just a little bit to just get how much better? And the other thing, Lindy and I, we are trying to roadmap a lot of this unconscious, subconscious process. And, we were talking about, kind of the spread factor of a certain piece of information in terms of its ability to not just be, like a triad, for example, playing that chord in first inversion. Like I've played that, when I'm in the key of E, I use that chord shape all the time. But because we're so enveloped in triads, when I play that chord, it really means something to me. It's very near and dear to my heart, because now I'm not just playing that E major in first inversion, or some people would say E over G sharp. I'm playing it with a level of, I've always played that chord with a great deal of musical intentionality, but now the intentionality of what I'm focusing on as a musician, not just as a guitar player, and the spreadability of those things is great. For example, conceptually, I'm way down with two-hand tapping. But in terms of the spread factor of a concept of learning how to two-hand tap versus the spread factor of being able to take chords and play inversions of them and be able to take a song, there we go. So the fact that, I have a fair amount of sensibility about where the notes of A major are means that as I'm kind of navigating this guy, I'm not kind of going, I don't know, where are those notes? Because when you don't know where the right notes are, they all kind of begin to look like potentially wrong notes. So the idea, there's my A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. So I hit a G instead of a G sharp. So let's see if I can riff around. I'm going to take these two notes. I'm going to take the A and the C sharp. And And are going to be things I'm going to need to do to make them fit around each one of these chords. Right, all right. So knowing that that A and that C sharp and the D and that B and that G sharp there are what I've got to cook with, if you will. There we go. And then you get a motif. And all of a sudden, it's not theory. You're taking your knowledge of theory to make music. That's the whole point. And that's the whole point. Okay. We can do this. Sonia, at the jam, I grabbed the bass instead of the guitar. Smart move. And moved more of a funky groove. Some followed along and others just quit the jam. Bass is such a powerful instrument to nudge guitar players to different places. Sonia, right on the money. One of the reasons I'm in the process of, again, first person, here I go, of preparing to do the overdubs on the instrumental EP. And I'm giving myself the freedom, partially based on what my buddy Caleb Johnson, the singer in the vocal EP, says, take your time. And so what I'm being afforded the ability to do in Texas, get feedback on video from guys like Steve Karras, thank you very much, is play these melodies and play these songs live, such that when I come back to actually play the keeper parts, the decisions I make about not just the tone, but how I'm going to play the songs, how I'm going to play the melody, what the songs have become after I did them, crafted them here, who do they become and who do they reach when I take them out in the real world, and what does that tell me? And how do I bring that back in here? I'm getting ready to do more stuff. And so this morning I was like, all right, which instruments do I need to take out of here? So I kind of only have the guitars right here that I need. There's a bass over there. And there's one of the songs that I'm kind of doing some rearranging. We're doing some interesting stuff, changing things up after the fact, which again is one of the great things about, like, let's take some time here, take a step back. So we're going to end up having Angeline, the bass player, retrack the bass. But I was like, I need that bass here because it's an integral part of how I create motion. That is, if you will, it's the bread of the sandwich. That we could argue that the guitar playing is the meat, or we can say the melody is generally the meat that most of us want to bite into. But there's all the other stuff, right? The little 16th notey stuff on the hi-hat, your lettuce and your condiments that enhance the flavor. But you could take the drum beat out and the bass out and reduce it down. I missed a few notes here and there, but the point being is, yes, there's a... Sorry, I was in the wrong key a minute ago, but there's that bit. But if you go... You play that melody, everybody's going to go, oh, that's that Satriani song. I love that. My friend walked down the aisle to that, okay? That right there is the meat and the potatoes. So the bass, though, sets up, it sets an integral part of that sandwich up. And I couldn't agree more. Okay, my buddy Chris Alexander, who I love and adore dearly, asked a couple of questions because I kind of have picked him to just kind of be somebody that always sends stuff through, so I've got some questions. So I really appreciate his contribution to the community. I love it. His text is, it's Friday, so here are a few questions or topics. What made me choose the RC600 instead of similar products? What a great question. So I have seen Joe Satriani, Laurie Basilio. Don't know if I've seen Steve play the tracks, but in the course of teaching at guitar camps or playing a little mini set or whatever, play with tracks, and it's almost always, and Larry Mitchell, um, a computer or an iPhone, but some device that requires your fingers. And I don't quite know how I kind of got to the points like the Boss RC loopers. The larger form factor versions allow you to load in not just one song that you start and stop from your feet, but the ability to actually have these different pieces. And I can say, I toured Europe opening for Gilby Clarke with an iPod into a DI into the PA and played along with a Boss GT6. And like an idiot, I sold that GT6 that had all the sounds that I used for it. I would never use it again, but I should have kept it just because there were a bunch of sounds in there that meant a lot to me that are gone. Stupid. And at that point, Boss didn't have a deep editor, so those sounds are just gone. And it would be interesting to come back years later, plug into those exact same sounds. Yesterday, I interviewed a guy named Justin Crew. The video will be showing up on my YouTube sooner than later, who's Kirk Hammett's guitar tech. And I'm just gonna say, I love this guy. He's just awesome. But one of the things we talked about was kind of how technology, the Metallica guys are using the fractal stuff. And one of the things he was saying about technology enables you to perfect things and come back to the exact same sound whenever you turn that piece of gear on. And it would have been really nice if I'd had the good sense, instead of like, oh, let me just get rid of this piece of gear, I'm not using it, to think, wow, wouldn't it be nice decades later to come back to the sounds of new instrumental and just be able to pull up that preset that I used on a track like Wicked and just, there it is, pull up the same guitar, that old Ibanez 7-string, and just kind of have a moment revisiting my past. Stupid move. All that to say, that the Boss RC 500 is what I used on the Schenker tour, so I could loop an introduction. Sometimes I would loop it and talk to the audience, just say, hey, I'm Doug Doppler, thanks for joining us. There's some merch on the table if you'd like to do that. That really helps us out. Same with Schenker and blah, 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 blah. And engage the conversation, because as an instrumental artist, you're playing, that's how you're talking to people all night, which is great, which I love. But the point being is that it's nice to be able to speak to people and not have it be dead air. So you're having the beginning of this one song, kind of having, hey, what's going on, everybody? Doug here. Thanks so much for coming out tonight. Really excited to be here opening for Michael. How many Michael Schenker fans do we have in the house? Immediately I'm talking to them because I know they're not there to see me. So I'm like, hey, so like, Michael Schenker, what's there to say? What is there to say? Because I think he's in back. Come on, give him a holler. You want to do everything to make it clear to go, hey, I'm sleeping on your couch, Michael Schenker. Thank you so much for giving me a place to put my bones and hang my hat, tonight, and it just allows everybody to kind of go, your heart is you're in a posture of appreciation and gratitude. It also allows that audience to know you're just as into Michael Schenker as they are, which means that I become like you. That's a great thing. That's a great message to share to an audience. And playing a little bit of music, I'm walking them into falling in love with hopefully the next piece of music I'm about to play while that's happening. So being able to control that with my feet, as opposed to having to go deal with a laptop, which is a very impersonal piece of technology. The looper, people are used to seeing guitar players go stomp, stomp, stomp. They're not used to seeing guitar players walk over to a computer screen. And I will say this, and I forgot to ask Justin about this. Metallica doesn't, they may be in some ways a legacy band, but what you're hearing is what you're hearing. Not the computer, not backing tracks. You're hearing Metallica. It's badass. In any case, am I a bit of a fanboy? Yes. This technology of being able to have it on your feet. And the RC500 allows you to slice and dice your track / Pro Tools session into 3 sections, bounce them at 44 1 kilohertz, 16-bit. And then basically you'll be able to loop that ad nauseum. And then when you're ready to switch to the next track, you can set the looper such that the moment you hit the foot switch for the quote unquote second track, it either jumps instantaneously or whatever track you're on, it will then finish that last cycle of the loop and automatically change to the other. I have yet to decide how I'm going to do this for this set of shows a week from today. Because the thing about doing it when it's instantaneous, you know when you step on that button, it's time to change. You just need to do it on time. Leaning towards that, but I haven't decided. But that is another reason why it's such a great unit. So your average looper, you can maybe load some sounds in there, but the ability to do that, total game changer for anybody that ever has to play with tracks. And I am looking forward to when Larry and Mitchell and I was on the way to the Satriani G4 experience, and Larry and I had a long conversation while I was in the van driving there. And I was talking about, I never want to play with tracks again. I only want to play with a band, blah, 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 blah. Watch out when you find yourself saying, I never fill in the blank, because you totally limit with the emotion. I never, blah, blah, with, emotion can blind you. And I kind of, in retrospect, I'm so excited about playing with the tracks because I'm playing with the actual. Oh, they're on a stereo. Hang on. Or they're on it. Sorry, these are on a group. Here's just the snare and the drums. Want to play with that. I mean, I'm just like, holy cow. Like, that's Zorro the drummer, and that's Zorro the drummer. I mean, like, those grooves on this album, so good. Just, I mean, hold on, listen to that. It just makes you want to play. And what's happening is I'm getting a chance to respond to the way he and, hang on, here's Angeline. Drums. Sure, I'll be happy to play with tracks because I have that to play over. And not only that, I can create that little loop. I'm off and running, just like, and that's what you can't do with a computer. That's what you can do with the RC500. The RC600 gives, instead of 3 stereo loops, you get 6 per track or per memory. So I can basically take six sections of that particular song, slice and dice it. I don't have to play all 6. But if I want to hang out at one of those 6 or just have it literally just be top to bottom, boom, in and out, which I don't think I do with any of the tracks, gives me the ability to change the arrangement every night, hang out wherever I want to hang out, as long as I want to hang out there, and bust open the arrangement. That's why. What a great question. All right. Oh, man. Steve, I missed this one. scrolling up here. Oh, here we go. Matthew Winter. Yep, I made the caged pentatonic connection. My playing got far more melodic. Way to go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, so hold on. There was one. Steve cares. That's why I have a guitar in every room. Melissa, Steve has a guitar in every room. When I hear something cool, I'm ready to figure out. Love that. Okay. Jose, how you doing? So be willing to make the effort to learn the fundamentals, then experiment a lot, and you get the inspiration. That, and thank you very much. And that's exactly, once we kind of go, hey, so I've got a buddy, Mike Mon. We used to live in this kind of musician's household, like a bunch of musicians lived there. And on Saturday mornings, every so often, Mike would go in and make scrambled eggs for the house. And he knew how to take the same ingredients that I would look at and go, I have no idea how he does it. And he just, whatever was the talent of cooking, he innately had it. But had I had the good sense and the humility to go, all right, show me how you're doing this, and show me, oh, wow, I got to remember this. Tell me what you're thinking. As you're doing this, what are you thinking as you're doing? It's not, there's some intuition that he's navigating. Once I'm inside there, it becomes a thing. It's basically like reading your kids a story. Is it just the words boring? It's the voices and the coolness. That's a great analogy. Paul, give me the pain. Thank you, sir. May I have another? I love y'all. This is so good. Todd, what's going on? Absolutely sick. Can tracks on the looper be edited and then reamped? That's a great question. So, hey, what's going on, Kevin Wayne Carr? And yes, Brian, letting it marinate is such an important thing. And the way we, quote unquote, all those of us that make recordings, whether they're actually put out or we share them with our respective family members or friends, whoever it is, we're content creators. And most of the time, we walk in, we make a decision, we live with it, and we put it out there, and that's it. We don't kind of go, hey, if that's a piece of music that most of the time when we go back and listen to it, we kind of go, oh, I wish I'd done that differently. Well, that is really the wrong time to be having that conversation when it's done, as opposed to like, I think I want to do that differently, as opposed to I wish I'd done it differently. And so giving yourself time now here's the thing, is especially, I have to be very careful. This is especially true for anybody that has ever struggled with any addiction. The tendency to not finish things is one of the hallmarks, especially with people who've had substance abuse issues. Not always, not painting people with that brush, but for people that have had that thing, they have a tendency to start things and not finish them and move on to the next stimulant, if you will. You got to be mindful of that if that's at all part of your story of where you have journeyed in the midst of that, or journeying, whatever. No judgment. Been there, done that. So the thing is that hanging out for enough time to get that done, but not so much time that then you drop it and then move on to the next thing. That's a danger that we all face. And there are also times that we come to a point where we're going, it's a good idea, but it's not the great idea or the one that I'm looking for this particular thing. Trying to fill a void with songs that fit next to each other. But I've been very conscious, based on Caleb's advice, to take my time and actually having the opportunity to play these songs. I'm thrilled. The first time, it was courtesy of the amazing and unreal Larry Mitchell. He had me sitting in with him at the Dallas International Guitar Festival, which is a big deal to me, all the way around. Sitting in with Larry, doing it there. And in that opportunity, I got a chance to play the first live performance of one of these songs. Giant moment for me. Dallas debut of the guitar, giant moment. Giant. A moment that, of all the places it could have happened, it was one that was very significant for all those reasons. And so the ability to make those things come together, you want to be conscious of all of these things happening, how you're going to to bring this bit and make that happen. It's just such a big deal. That moment, I'm bringing back to the album. Priceless. Because how I chose to play it there, how I chose to play it at the set that I played 2 days later or 3 days later, and how I'm going to play it a week from tonight with Neely. Then when I come back from that, when I go to record it, then I will play it the way I meant to play it. Later I might change my mind, but I'm now playing it, and it was the last G4 experience. It's the biggest gift, Joe, of many gifts that Joe has given me. It's probably in this moment the most important. In one of the sessions, he deconstructed what it was like to be in the studio creating his songs, his melodies, and when he chooses to go up high and all of these things. And he said, in the studio, sometimes you're just not thinking about it. And it was like he was talking straight to me. And, he knew I was there, and he knows where I am in my journey. And it wasn't an accident that he touched on some of these things. I know that because that's the guy that said to me a while ago, well, Doug, you just got to show up. It was like, the subtext was not too subtle. It was not in 3-point font. It was in 20-point font. It was like, well, Doug, you just gotta show up. More subtext, ... if you want to, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't have the songs. I didn't have the inspiration for what I wanted to do. Wasn't quite the time yet, but those words were imprinted, and they remain imprinted. I'm doing my best to show up. But that what Joe was talking about is when you take those songs out and start playing them live, you begin to really find out what that song is and how it speaks to people and how it speaks to you and what the sort of things you're going to start to change a little bit. And you make different decisions about what you're playing and why you're playing it based on how you're responding to that piece of music in a space with other people there as opposed to sitting there with your monitors. Our tendency is to kind of go, oh, that's it, that's the one. And sometimes that's not it, and it's not the one. And it's actually kind of going, hey, it's like what I was saying about this is, I need to get this thing down because once I've got that thing down, the thing that I really want to get to that I don't know that I'm going to get to is 2 or 3 steps further beyond the one in front of me. And so if I don't get the one in front of me down, I can't get to that one that's after me. If I hadn't gotten to, I wouldn't have got it. And and there are going to be ones. Things where I'm going to be doing hammer-ons and pull-offs. And like the moment this morning, I don't know, I think I was here right. The moment I played, I went. Whatever the heck it was. And that's the first time you'll hear me play. That will be part of my. I'm working on developing for whatever it's going to be a signature group of licks. Playing these arpeggios, spread arpeggios. 1 5 flat 3 1 5 5 flat 3 1 1 5 flat 3. Not there yet because I just kind of started doing it, but I'm like, oh, I'm all over that. And again, had it not been for Lindy and all this arpeggiation, that's actually a Rick Beato thing that I've been showing my students a long time. Anybody that studied with Mike Rand, what's going on? Let me just finish this real quick. Beato did a thing on spread chords, and that's these kind of chords. But sorry, and it's got to be. There's our natural 3 up there. All right. So the point being is that I then kind of went to town, kind of going, what are all the things that I can do it with? And he did a first video, and there's a second one. It's great stuff. But then I'm kind of going, well, if I were to quote unquote Doppler'S it, what does that begin to look like? And then, so my getting the point where I can begin to kind of do that with the fingers. And there's stuff that I'm gonna do. That I'm like, it's gonna be flipping wizardry. I'm gonna have to work at it because getting your brain to go 1 5 flat 3 flat 3 1 5 5 flat 3 1 1 5 flat 3. My brain isn't naturally wired that way. There are people that are. But once you got that, that's right. Come on. That's basically a 5-1 flat 3 5-1-3 5-1-3. I just need my brain and my fingers to think that. Great songwriting tool. Sorry, natural three. The point being is, once you begin to, you are what you eat, and once you start to devour those arpeggios, those spread chords, the spread triads, like there is just so much meat on those bones. I'm just like, oh, there's a whole world of stuff that I'm going to begin to employ on the guitar. That had it not been for Rick, and had it not been for this conversation I'm having with Lindy, never would have happened. So you are what you eat. Brian, thanks again. Great question. Does the RC600 have its own effects loop? It has built-in effects. That's a really great question. It does not, but it has built-in effects. But that is a really, 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 really good question because it would be another nice addition. That I think one of the things that they did on this unit, it's lighter and smaller than the one I had before, the RC500, which is still here. I actually somewhere nearby, but it's small. Oh, Lindy is still here. Lindy, you have changed my world and my whole musical perception, and are, you know, the funny thing is that I will put you up there with Joe Satriani. How about that? The dangerous thing, and it's a funny thing. I was at the gym the other day, and I decided, I'm going to listen to a bunch of Joe Satriani. And I came home that night and the next morning and still today, and gosh darn it, if I don't start bending, and I'm like, oh, there's a Joe bend. I'm like, oh, I need to put this down. I said to Melissa's like, I can't listen to the playlist of Joe Satriani because I just immediately, first of all, I've spent decades trying not to sound like Joe. I was hanging out with Gary Brower yesterday. I'm making a point here, by the way. And I was saying that years ago, and I talked about this musician's household a minute ago. Joe came over one day, and he, not sure why, but he, so I was, he plugged him into my rig, and I kind of, something like that was the riff that I would always play when I would plug in and just kind of do it. Joe sits down and plays the note for note, rhythm for rhythm, same exact lick that was Mike's kind of sitting down, wheelie. If there's a lick, whatever it is that you might do, Joe played that thing note for note. I was like, how's that even possible? And so the point being is that when there's somebody that there's that much familiarity musically, you got to be really conscious of it. And Tomo Fujita, who's another one of my inspirators. Lindy down in the comments. Not everybody can see you coming in from YouTube if you're on Facebook. No, Doug, you changed my world. Unfortunately, my overlays are underlaying the bottom window there. You can see kind of like it's wanting to go there, but I've got to change the layer height of why these comments are coming underneath there. So the feeling is mutual. So the thing is, I'm listening to Joe, and I come back, and I'm like, oh, I get. There are just certain bands as they sit in time and against certain pieces of music where I instantly find myself doing some of that stuff, and I'm like, I can't. I've got to stop listening to this because I will import this, and I don't want people to. I want people to know that I studied with Joe. I want people. I'm very proud of that, but I don't want people to go, oh, he's a Satriani imitator. I'm just like, no, no. So I've spent decades trying not to do that, but the influence immediately percolates to my fingers. I'm like, oh, okay. With Lindy, I am just thinking about stuff. It's just, it's kind of the onset of these ideas is staggering. I have never had anything populate my brain, and because we're talking about these things and we're excavating and thinking about how people learn and think about this, and this whole, we're very conscious of the value of helping people look at these triads in different voicings, so they get comfortable with the idea. Here's, basically what we're creating language to describe this stuff. We're calling this, and we're being conscious of what words we are and aren't going to use, like position. So it drives me flipping nuts. This is not the second position of the minor pentatonic. This is the second position. This is the second pattern. Now, it's just because they don't know better. I get it. But it sets certain, it just rings the fire alarm around certain things. I'm like, if you're going to be putting out there as information for the public to consume, do your research. Don't just like, oh, it's the second position. It's like, no, it's not. Here's the thing is that guitar exists. There's nomenclature for these things. There is a big difference between position and pattern. And when we use the word position, it's like using the word flat. We're using the word G flat when we don't want to use the word F sharp because it means something different contextually. And, the concept of pattern versus position, it's a big deal. But the point being is that we've kind of come up, I actually did, and Lindy hasn't complained yet. I call this, regardless of how I'm doing it, root voicing. So it means that that the roots in the bass versus first inversion, second inversion. So we're spending time kind of really mapping how can you take these triads, and I lie in bed at 5:30 in the morning when I'm trying to fall back asleep going G, B, D, B, D, G, D, G, B, A, C, E, C, A, A, C, E, C, E, A, EAC, walking through those, and I'm not where I want to be yet, but by the time I can do them, to the equivalent of GBD, ACE, BD, F sharp, CEG, D, F sharp, A, EGB, F sharp, AC, GBD, and I can do that with this, GBD, BDG, DGB, ACE, CEA, EAC, and can kind of get it at GBD, ACE, BD, F sharp, CEG rate. We're gonna be having all sorts of fun because it's but what it really means is there's a musical implication of that. And so say for example I'm playing this little G major. Let's say I'm playing the G right here. I actually know and it's kind of like all the studying that I've done, it's almost like there's been this veil lifted off and I'm seeing things with a level of clarity that I never have because of how I'm thinking about it. And it's just, when you're around people that pull that thread of consciousness through your world, it's so magnetic. Brent, so that's a funny thing. So I'm glad you mentioned the shirt. So I will let y'all into a little bit of the inner workings. Yes, they were like, when you lost your insert, you were done. So for those of you that are not old enough to know what was then called. So we actually have gone 360 degrees. When Brent and I were growing up, the album world was predicated by the success of singles that would come out on a 45. So we live more or less in just kind of a 360-degree version of that, where it's kind of flipped around. So this is the little insert that for the 45s, and it was very strange. I don't quite know why they did it, because generally speaking, you would play your 45s on an LP, and I guess they did it to save money. But the center of the 45 would have this giant hole, and you'd have to put these little plastic inserts in there. If you lost your insert, you're desperately trying to line the 45 up on the center of the turntable, and it's flip-flopping as it's going back and forth. So the thing is the icon for the vocal band. This is it. So I'm letting you in on the inside. So it's actually part of the logo. And so the fun, Brett. So it speaks to, because we're I'm going to be really naughty. I'm going to be really, 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 really naughty. Now this is the demo. I'm going to play just a little bit of one of the songs, so you can understand where we're coming from. I'm being really naughty today. There we go. Let's see, which one is this? All right.
Something in the water, it's in my blood, comes from the soul, up from the mud, fresh like spring water on a warm summer's day, Carolina sun shining down on my face. Not to say we don't have hard times or struggle or two, but that's the way that life is, so what you gonna do? I love New York City and California too, but that hustle and that bustle, babe, can take its toll on you. Sitting in the sunshine, throwing back a beer, nothing but a real good time. Feet in the river, bathed on the pole, watching the clouds go by, living that good life, feeling mighty fine, sipping that sweet, sweet wine in that Carolina sunshine. Our roots go deep.
Caleb. So that is the sound of my favorite lead vocalist in the whole world. That's Caleb Johnson. He won American Idol. If you want to hear a little bit more of Caleb and watch him in action, just not now, Google or go onto YouTube and Udall Caleb Johnson American Idol Dream On, and watch him destroy Dream On, and watch J-Lo basically lose her mind. J-Lo is a very talented, across many vertical woman, but her vocal talent compared to that of Caleb, it's just a different thing. And first of all, she looks like she's a lovely person. I don't know J-Lo, but it's awesome to just watch her lose her mind watching Caleb be Caleb. It's really, it's first of all, the first couple of times of the hundreds I've watched him destroy Dream On, just destroy it, I'm like, I can't believe this guy. But then to watch J-Lo's reaction, which is just as honest, heartfelt, she's up out of her seat. She cannot contain herself because she loves what she's hearing. So I am privileged enough, that's kind of what's coming next. So that's called the Doppler Gang. That's the name of the band. And this is the icon. It's part of the logo. So in any case, thanks guys. When does that record come out? That is a really good, that is a question that gets asked frequently. First of all, Mark, and thank you, Steve. Caleb is unreal. We have amazing, in my opinion, chemistry. And that's the amazing thing, is I'm surrounded by all these people that complete missing pieces in me and allow me to grow into a better version of myself, which I'm so thankful for. Mark, you are the quintessential person. Not that Steve isn't, not the rest of the Doppler'idians, the Dopplergangers, aren't. But in many ways, because I've heard you play as many times as I have, and I know where you live musically, this record is basically for you. It's the sort of songs that were designed. Steve, I don't know you as a player that well, so please don't be but Mel, I know my 11 o'clock canceled. So, but the vibe of this album is specifically. Thanks for that, Steve. We all know Melissa made you who you are. We got that right. True that. But you are the quintessential person, Mark, that where you live as a player and where you live as a musician and a lover of music, pretty much you're exactly who this record is being made for. And it's intended to be something that you can hopefully live with and enjoy and have it be in the backdrop of your life, knowing that it was made with love and affection for people that have an appreciation for classic / blues-based rock. And Caleb is just the greatest singer for what it is that I want to do that I could ever have imagined. Just unreal. I digress. All right. Not Punky Meadows naughty. No, there's different versions of naughty. But the thing is that I have been because I'm taking my time putting the stuff out. It's a matter of having that. We need a doppelganger set at Guitar Universe. So I don't know if that's gonna happen. Thank you, very kind, Mark. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but if there's time, I've been told that if there's an extra space, I am in consideration for a set. And it's not that that's weird at all. It's that I don't have any albums out that haven't come out in the 2010s, much less the 2020s or the 2010s. So there are reasons that at this camp, if I didn't do a set, that would make sense. And hopefully moving forward, that will be a little bit different. But I've been a guitar teacher and a guitar enabler for other folks, where now I'm getting a chance to have the privilege to step into the role of being a guitar performer again, which I love. It's one of my favorite Dougs. But I can't say I love that Doug any more than I love being teacher Doug. Because teacher Doug, the great thing about it, why I love it so much is it's not about me. And it's kind of one of those things. It's like a part of it is therapy, because I could easily talk about all the things that I'm thinking about and working on. But I get much more satisfaction and reward out of helping other people realize their thing, because it's taking what's been deposited in me by somebody like Joe Satriani and the 3.5 years that I spent seeing him for an hour every week, being able to kind of go, hey, here's my take on that. Have at it. That's like I said a minute ago, I'm negotiating how to negotiate being more vocal about the fact that I studied with Joe without it sounding, it's really funny. I interviewed again Justin Crew, Kirk Hammett's personal tech, the guy that if Kirk Hammett's playing a guitar on stage, Justin was the guy that handed it to him. Justin was the guy that changed the strings. Justin was the guy that made sure it worked, and has been doing that for 25 plus years. At the end, we ended up adding this last little piece we hit record again, because I was like, he said something, about having worked with Jimmy Page. And I was like, wait a second. Justin, can you take a moment and tell us about, the different people you've worked with? It's like, blah, 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 blah. AC/DC, Jimmy Page. He's going down this list of, the who's who of rock. And we exchanged text this morning. He's like, hey, please make sure it didn't seem like I was bragging about that, because I didn't know until we stopped recording, and just something he said matter-of-factly about Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin, and because of the way he came about it and his consciousness of like, please make sure it's framed in a way that it doesn't sound like I'm like, dude, people will see the look on your face and they're going to know you're not bragging. But I'm also conscious of the fact that I don't want to be the guy's like, well, when I studied with Jess Antriani, you got to be really mindful. It's the way you say it. The other thing is, and this is really important, I'm talking to you, how people hear it. We got to be really, 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 really conscious of not just the way we say it, how people hear it. Oh, I'm going to go there. Naughty me. Oh, I'm being really naughty today. Okay, here we go. So, there is a guy. I want to be really smart because Melissa and I have been having this ongoing conversation that made a video about Kirk Hammett. And Kirk's playing on the new record. Really, really, really good guitar player, Kirk, and the guy that made this video. Contextually, in the United States, the Brits and the Australians, who are the best example of this, have this phrase, taking the piss out of you. So, like, I went to Australia the first time, and my new family members there. I'm there playing, I don't know, some game, and like within 2 seconds they're ribbing me about politics in America, and I'm like, nice to meet you too. I mean, literally, like we've exchanged all of about 4 sentences, and they're already in the ribbing thing. What I didn't understand is that's kind of a sign of affection. In any case, this one particular guy, he has like 200,000 subs on YouTube. Really, really went after Kirk. Blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to go into anything other than blah, blah, blah. And Kirk is a guy that I've known since he was in Exodus. I'm a Bay Area guy. Don't mess with my people. Do not mess with my people. And so the emotion is very raw. Not a good place to be with anything. And so I've been trying to negotiate how I was going to, or if I was going to, because a number of times I've been on his YouTube thing just kind of going, just step away from the keyboard, Doug. For lots of reasons. But the thing is invariably when we get to the editors, I'm actually going to bring this up, and the point is as follows. The worst thing about this thing, besides the fact that and I don't know how Kirk feels. Kirk doesn't call me on birthdays. So, he lives in Metallica world. I live in Doug world. I'm happy to live in Doug world, just for piss and giggles. But the reality is Kirk is a player, just like I am responding to comments from somebody like Steve when people, and the more your music gets out there, the more people are just going to be like, oh, let's take a pot shot at Doppler. I will look at that as a sign of success in that, once people take enough notice of you that they want to start writing offensive things in social media, that actually means you're actually making a dent in the music world. The repercussions and the reverb of that, the rings from the nasty stone being thrown at you, ringing back, and you're reading them, you have to be really guarded to not let it hurt you. But it still kind of hurts a little bit when somebody takes a pot shot at your art. When you're like, hey, I'm just trying to bring art that's going to move people like it moves me. It's not something that generally is designed to make people feel good. The thing about this that is most harmful is this person has 200,000 subs on YouTube. All the kids that are seeing this are going, oh, it's okay to go out on social media and just piss on somebody's feet. And especially if you have a big following. And that's the part that I'm like, I'm going to talk about it in this video. And, Justin is kind of becoming, somebody that I'm very fond of. So, in the midst of this, because we were talking about, everything, Kirk. I mean, like crazy stuff, like about kind of being in the studio and how they're approaching dialing in tones on the fractal. I mean, like the geeky stuff. It's just flippin' awesome. That Justin was there when Kirk bought the Blackburst. I mean, just like all this, talking about Greenie, I mean, it's just all the stuff that if you're into it, flippin' A, it's amazing. But the concept of like, and the question that I'm asking Justin is like, what are the things you need to do if you want to be a guitar tech? What do you need to do? What's the path, and kind of what not to do? And I kind of brought up in the preface of the question, there's this guy, and the reality is that if I had a choice of recommending somebody for the gig, and this guy can really play, I mean, he's really good, but I would never recommend him on a gig because he talks smack, and he talks smack about one of my guys. Like talking smack about is one thing I wouldn't recommend anybody that's a smack talker because that's the sort of guy that gets left at the side of the road at a bus stop. You don't want somebody until you've been on the road with somebody that you're like, I'm going to kill you, versus being on the road with people like, we're doing life together for the next 2.5 months or however many weeks or whatever it is. We got to get along here. The way you get hired and you get rehired is you got to be the person that they liked having a beer with you the night before, and they liked waking up the next morning just as much. And there are people that I've made music that when I watch them become their drunk self, I was like, I will never trust you, because I kind of found out who underneath the veneer they actually were. I'm like, ooh, so that's who underneath all the extra, oh, bro, how you doing? Like, that's who you are. I will do my best to never make music with that person again. No names. Never. Never trust them. Never let them inside them. It's like, you're not trustable. You're never going to want somebody in your band, in your entourage, who's not trustworthy. Trust is everything. And the reason Justin is still Kirk's guy after 25 years is Justin is trustworthy. Hiring somebody that's got a big mouth, gonna blab your secrets, blab your dysfunction, blab the private information, share a video for a song that's not supposed to be out yet, fill in the blank. That's not the person I want around me. And I'm stupid if I invite somebody like that into my network of people. And the worst part of it is, like, this guy, really great guitar player. I'm watching him, like, I think I'm gonna watch some of his videos and steal some of his technique. I'm like, really good. But I could never recommend him to a guitar camp. Ever. Would never. Never do it. Never gonna happen. And there are people, I won't mention any names, that had it not been for my recommendation, they would not have been at a guitar camp. So it's just like, watch that thing. It seems really cool to take the piss out of somebody, but honestly, training your people in social media to do that. And by the way, this guy ever makes the mistake of showing up at a Metallica concert. Let me put it this way. If I were him, I would never go to another Metallica concert, because somebody will find him. And he will have his own personal mosh pit. It ain't going to be pretty. It's like, I love Fred Durst. The line is, writing checks that your ass can't cash. Like, boom. Don't mess with Metallica fans. That's dangerous business. All right, hang on. Michael Hodge, what's going on? Brett, some people purposely do negative things just to get a video go viral, regardless of how it affects those involved in the fallout. Brett, and again, here's the thing: is first of all, I agree absolutely, and then sometimes there's, this guy's British. Taking the piss out of somebody is kind of what the Brits do and the Australians do. So I actually get that, but I'm not British, so the first time, or Australian, so the first time I happened to be on the receiving end of it, I was like, what is that? And Melissa had to kind of explain, that's actually him being nice to you. And I was like, really? It didn't really feel like that. So in any case, Brian, a good hang. It's tactless and greedy. Hey, Doug, what's going on again, Michael? Here's the thing is like, we've all made mistakes, right? We all need to learn how to navigate giving grace when we have received unmerited favor, given all the things that I'm not going to speak for you, because you may be sinless. But me, on the other hand, I've hurt people and said things that were hurtful. So I kind of have to own that. And so when I see people do stuff and say stuff, I have to kind of go, well, is there something about this that I'm not seeing that maybe I need to kind of try and understand their perspective a little bit better? And, honestly, if I put myself in a position that if I showed up at a Metallica concert and they went, hey, there's the guy that did that, and all of a sudden a pack of people would surround me and kind of go, oh, you're that guy? Like, you don't necessarily think about the moment you're like, hey, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Like, but I mean, the concept of being surrounded by a bunch of angry Metallica fans going, you're that guy? Oh, holy flippin' cow. Means you can never go to another Metallica show. Ever. Never. And by the way, if you're at another thrash show and there's a bunch of Metallica fans there, they're like, hey, there's that guy, basically means you can never go to another thrash concert again. for fear that somebody's actually going to spot you and go, there's that guy. Basically pissed on the foot of a founding father, because I knew Kirk when he was in Exodus. I was in the Bay Area. It started here. Alex Skolnick, Kirk Hammett. That is where this whole thing got started. Rick Hunold. Founding fathers of thrash. Don't piss on the feet of founding fathers. Doesn't go well. Birds of a feather. What's going on? Mod to TVF. What's going on? I think you are my compatriot on the gear front, as I recall, if I can remember that. Melissa's down there taking the piss and being nasty. Critical aren't the same. That is absolutely true. It's something. All right. It's about the attitude. There we go. So the great thing is there's this ongoing conversation about playing live with modeling gear. Melissa and I had another one of those unfortunately awkward conversations. Let's see if I can do this. So right here, this lower cabinet, I was like, Mel, I need to buy another cabinet. What you don't understand is I own 20 412 cabinets, and I dare say somebody once used this phrase in a critical way of me, humble brag, and I was like, what does that mean? And it was like, it sounds like what it's supposed to. And I was like, well, I never want to be that guy. But I do say when I've got over 20 412 cabinets, there we go. Come on, FRLR, the X200. So this cabinet, I haven't told you about this. I forgot your first name. We exchanged the emails the other day about the JC120. Hey, by the way, did you get the wiring up yet? We were talking about how to wire the Celestion full range live response speakers in a JC120. So this is the Mesa Boogie. It's a halfback 212 cabinet. I've got 3 of the 412s. But the thing that I discovered that I didn't know is the 212, although it's closed back, the 212 is the Thiel cabinet. So one of my favorite cabinets for the FRLR thing that I did for Celestion and for myself is the Thiel 112 cabinet. Sounds and feels a lot like a 412 cabinet. Originally, those were actually made for bass, and they had an EV in there. And so the thing is I just kind of used one of those cabinets. I actually ended up buying a second one because I had to have it. Melissa was like, you don't have to have it. But I've got a pair of them for when I want to go stereo. What I didn't know was the lower part of that guy uses the same voicing, and there's just a little bit of porting going on there. So the lower half of the 212 is a Thiel cabinet, and the upper half is open back. So I'm going to go to storage and grab a couple of the F12 X200s, I think. I need to figure out which I'm going to put in there, and I may find that one may sound better in the top and the other don't. Similarly, it's the two Celestion speakers, the M150 and the F12 X200. They're very similarly voiced, just a small difference in the mids. But I'm going to get a second one of those cabinets because Neely, it looks like I'll use the operative word, might sit in with Neely for a song, which means where the power cab is basically, it sits on the floor. My initial plan, I was going to use the 2 power cabs, lean them back, but with Neely and her band, if I am in fact going to sit in with her, I'm going to need something a little bit taller and something I can easily wheel on and off the stage. So I'm going to get a second one of those cabinets this week, and I'm going to put the Celestion speakers in it, and I'm going to run them in stereo. So that's probably, I'm 90% positive, that's the rig in combination with either the FM9 or more probably the Axifex 3 and the Seymour Duncan Power Stage 700 power amp. And so in any case, but the sounds that I'm doing on the FM9 will be just ported over. The other thing that I'm going to be doing, thanks to my buddy Brian Wall, is I'm going to be creating some tone matches, most likely, of some of the amps that are around here, so I can augment these sounds in preparation for going into the recording studio, this studio that is, my own studio, with amps that are here and capturing them myself using the capture functionality inside the Fractal, which is called tone match. You basically create an IR that's called a tone match block. And then you can take that from the Axifex 3. I think you could probably do an Axifex 2, but I know you can in the 3. And then you can take that tone match block and port it over to the FM9. So that's what I'm going to do. Please do a video of the FRLR build. First of all, thank you for that. One of the things that Lindy and I have been talking about. Oh, also lived across the street from him in El Sobrante. Hold on a second. Where is that? Me and Kirk had the same guitar teacher in high school, Mr. B. Oh, that's awesome. Also lived across the street from him in El Sobrante. I love it. Kirk and I had the same guitar teacher too. Sorry, that's me. I'm having fun, but like I don't want to be a dick about it. That's not how it. First of all, Jay, you know me. I love you, and that is awesome. It's actually really. So you probably have that yearbook that with Kirk in it. It's really cute. Although actually, no, you're younger. You're much younger than Kirk and I. But in any case, that's really awesome. So I'm actually really on a humble level. I'm really proud of the fact that both Kirk and I had a chance to study with Joe. I'm not the only person that referred Kirk to Joe, but when I first met Kirk at that Exodus gig, I'm warming up backstage, and you'll hear me tell the story because it's one of my favorite stories. They don't really get any better. I'm warming up. Kirk's over there. He's warming up, and he looks over like I'm doing on the high school. Where did you learn to do that? It's like, oh, this is guy Joe Satriani. Here's his phone number. It's just like that to me is a huge part of who I am and kind of where I come from. We're all like that. So, dude, I love that, Jay. That is awesome. I celebrate that. More awesomeness. Come on. So in terms of the FRLR build, one of the great things about working with Lindy is that it's allowing me to draw a lot of clarity. I also have a guy, Kevin McGrew, that is my digital marketing strategist that I'm just starting to work with. And he's really helping me really define a really sound strategy. And part of that is going to be creating the right content for the right platforms and the right expression of that. So Lindy and I are being very conscious of trying to be true to what it is that we're doing. Melissa's also really great at just kind of infusing us, like, stay on target, make sure that the content doesn't disappoint people. That if let's say I'm Sonia was talking about the pentatonic person. If you come to a class and you want to be taught how to play Freebird after a glass of wine on a Friday night, you're not looking to be taught how to be inspired like Joe Satriani. You really just want the glass of wine Freebird conversation. So you want to give people what they want. Oh, Jimmy, hey, can you do me a favor, Jimmy? I need your email address. I don't want you to post it here. Because I need, I was like, man, I need to have a conversation with you about, and I asked you before and you said yes. I need your help getting local shows going, and I need your booking help. I need to hire you, please. Desperately need you, and so thank you, and so like, oh, I told no, this is easy. Everybody knows how to reach me. Jimmy, can you do me a favor and email me, dougdoppler@gmail.com. It's not a secret. That's my Gmail. Please message me. Please. Please? Say you will. So, by the way, just in case for the millionth time, I haven't introduced Jimmy Arsenault. He used to book me at the Omni, the Stone, the Keystone Palo Alto, which became the Edge. So some of my greatest learning experiences on stage are because of Jimmy's awesomeness. And it's a part of me every time I step on stage. I'm like, this is a very strange angle. Like, really, I can do little horns on this thing. Hold on a second. There we go. God bless you, Jimmy, by the way. Jay Kirkland, a couple of years younger. I was born in 65. Oh, dude. Yeah, I'm still older than you. I was born in 64. Jay, you do not look it, so you wear it well. All right, let's turn it around this way so it's not a total awkward kind of like crotch shot or something. I don't know. That looks even weirder. All right, let's. I tell you what, this is going from bad to worse. All right, so in any case, the concept of what content I'm going to choose. By the way, if any of you are professional musicians and want to look at a great example of what not to do in your social media, look at me. I'm the poster child of should be, but isn't. Working on changing that up. Like if you looked at my social media, if you looked at my YouTube, you would have no idea who I actually am. People watching this day, people I have the privilege of hanging out with every Saturday, you know who I am. So how is it possible that my YouTube is not an expression of that? It's one of the biggest fails that I'm going to be focusing on fixing. And the great thing about partnering with Lindy around the content that we're going to be partnering around that I can't talk about yet is it being really conscious about which content I put where. So one of the things that I'm knowledgeable about and have a lot of equipment is gear. And so, Jamie Lamb, great to see you, my friend. Hey, you and I need to have continue that conversation that we had the other night. I called Jamie a little later in the day, and he was like, "Dude, I'm in bed. Go away." That's funny. So, in any case, the content on my YouTube channel, my personal channel, is going to be increasingly around gear. And the great thing about working with Lindy without letting the cat out of the bag is it gives me the right avenue to focus my teaching stuff, which Larry Mitchell has really done a great job of keeping his foot up my posterior about. And it's a very important expression of how people see who I actually am. And ultimately, our social media for the kind of musician out-facing stuff should really, if you think about who you look like, me, I look like a guy holding a flying V that's both teaching and playing this flying V. And it also, literally per this photo, is surrounded by this gear, hopefully showing you maybe something you don't know about it, or inspiring you to maybe buy some piece of gear that fills a need that you have, or at least know about a piece of gear that if that need ever presents itself, I can fill that blank. I mean, to me, it's so obvious. And when I look at the disparity of my social media, it's just such an epic fail on so many levels. I'm like, okay, for somebody that has been in the video building game for, if I did the math, I'd say it's more than 15 years, probably going on 20. Really? Just clueless. But it's a great learning point from going, it needs to look like whatever those verticals in that lane, that social area, TikTok being different than Twitter, being different than Instagram, being different than Facebook, than being different than YouTube, where there's intelligence spillover, and then where there's stuff, it's just going to be long form stuff on YouTube. Who is that? What body part do you want to go? Hey, this is my left hand. I use it to turn knobs on the amp. I use it to finger the notes on the guitar. I use it to turn the blocks on and off. On the fractal here. That's what I do when it comes to guitar. Is this, and then as a music educator, this part of my body, what's it thinking about doing, So if you think about all the different things you do, it was so funny in the conversation with Justin yesterday, we were talking about, he literally, when Kirk is on stage and something's happening where there's a change where there has to be a preset, they don't play with a computer. They're not running tracks. They're a real band. So Justin does every button press for Kirk. It's a huge amount of faith. And Justin was saying he'll be in an elevator because he was talking about his process is he just learns to live with the music rather than counting bars. Because he said the problem with counting bars is if you get distracted by a guitar with a string that broke or something spills somewhere, you stop counting and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know where I am. So he just learns to live with the music, right? So he plays the music environmentally. And he said he'll be in an elevator and there'll be a Metallica song, and his foot will do the button press when there has to be the press of it in the song. I was like, isn't that awesome? And the great thing is, I'm going to get a chance to share that with people. I was like, that's such geekery, and it's so incredibly cool, and it's such a part of the backdrop of which we're all part of. It's just so cool. Just love that. Eddie O'Brien, what's going on? The metronome. Come on. How you being, Eddie? I've got your pick right up here in the special. I've got a special box, or I guess it's a box. It's a plastic box with my most special guitar picks. Let's see. There's the Eddie Van Halen pick that Eddie O'Brien gave me. Thank you very much. You're a lover there. I've got it with a Steve Vai pick, and another Steve Vai pick, and a G4 Experience pick, and a VIP event from January 2006, the Joe Satriani Diodario event. And it was just, I got a Paul Gilbert pick. Look at that. And I've got an Eddie Van Halen pick, thanks to you, Eddie. So thank you for that. we go. Ooh, and that right there is a secondhand guitar company guitar pick. Unfortunately played, or ES picks. So this is one of the last ones. So this is one of the picks that they had in the pick jar, where Joe gave his lessons. And so, it was back in the old days, you go into a music store, there'd be a pick jar that had their branding on it. I have a few from Edward that I cherish. Way to go, Jay. I love that. Eric, I look forward to seeing you a little bit later. Check out my new old toy, 1987. Wait. Okay, I missed something. Brent, I missed a piece. What is that? All right. Jamie, yeah, we need to touch base this next week because I have lots of thoughts. Having been, Jamie's first of all brilliant guitar player. We're going to be playing together in Muscle Shoals on my brain and the dates on the 22nd of July. I'm in Nashville on the 21st. And then there's also going to be a clinic. So Jamie's a brilliant guitar player, also writes great songs. And so he, like myself, is in this recording process. So there you have that little bit of stuff. All right. Hey, I've got something I got to get ready for that starts in 9 minutes. So I first of all want to thank everybody for hanging out. Today we went a little bit long, and I just adore you, all of you. I'm so thankful for the privilege of being able to hang out with people. It's an interesting thing, this conversation again that Lindy and I are having about musical influences. The people that you have a chance to share your musicality with are also influential in your musical sphere. If I didn't have people that I could share my music with, it would be like I was talking to myself. Billy Idol, dancing with myself. All right, we all know that part of it, and part of our rehearsal process is like, I'm going to pretend nobody's there because nobody's there. I'm going to jump around and kind of work on some of my moves. Come on, we all do it. But it's not until you actually get a chance to outwork that, interact with real people. Tom, great to see you. You have a great day. Thank you, sir. That you kind of outwork your ideas with others that do they actually have validity? And when people that are as esteemed as the people that I have the privilege of sharing this time with, share that time with me, it is validating. I don't care who you are. Everybody needs that. And I'm deeply appreciative and greatly thankful. So I look forward to Nandini. Hello. So Nandini and Nitin came down to the Dallas Guitar Festival and experienced, kind of the version 1 of this thing. And we got a chance to go out and have some ribs. And it was just a lovely time. And so this is the perfect point, is like the people that I get a chance to meet and do this become a part of the fabric of my life. And I'm very grateful for that. So thank you for fabricing with me. So I will see you a week from next Saturday, because next Saturday I'm in Southern California opening for Neely Brosh. For those of you that, Mike, right, I missed your question. So Gary Brower is the guy down here. I will, and do me a favor, Mike, you got my number. Just text me and let me see if I can't find a tech if you're needing somebody that you don't send it to have it taken care of. Because they're, wait, no, I know of 2 guys. You're in the greater Seattle area. I know 2 guys. You got the X Factor. Oh, dude. Oh, it won't let you, no, it won't let you post a pic. Oh, dude. Is it the yellow or is it the blue, or what color is it? Come on. Oh, that's awesome. So killer. Nandini, your comment, you've been so very generous with your time. Right back at you. It's the same amount of time invested on your side. Black, Brent, way to go. Oh, that's awesome. Steve, thank you. The totally mutual. That's a great thing about keeping it real, right? It's just like it's a two-way street, and that's the best part of it. It's so rewarding and so awesome. So, speaking of rewarding and awesome, if I don't go and do what I need to do, I'm not going to get the rewards of my meeting that starts in 6 minutes. Have a great day. I'll see you 2 weeks from today. Anybody that's coming to the Neely Brosh gig next Saturday night at Alva's Showroom in San Pedro, please be sure to say hello in person. So until then, y'all have a great one.